Hey everyone, Henry Heck Built here. I've got a Ford Utility that came into the shop yesterday. They sent it into the glass shop to get the glass changed, and the glass shop, I guess, ordered these two trim pieces for the side here on the A-Pillar, these plastic trim pieces, but they said that they didn't actually install them. You have to find somebody else to install them, so they rip it off, change the windshield, and then guess what? You get to find somebody else to install them. So they brought it into the shop and wanted to know if I could put them in. I'd never put one on, and thought I'd shoot a video how I did it, so that maybe makes life easier on the next time, and then potentially somebody else's also. And so just a standard A-Pillar mount on your utility here. This is a 2017 Ford Utility, and so that one's in nice and tight, and I'll show you what it looked like when it came in. So this is what they had when it came in. Had ripped the molding off, changed out the windshield on the front windshield here, and so they must have to pull some screws and get that out of there. But anyways, after looking at what they did, I realized they could have simplified this and saved that piece of trim and never had to destroy it. You had to replace some clips on it because they're single-use clips. You put them in, and if you pull them out, they're broken, so you'd have to do something there. But as you can see, this mount for the spotlight actually sets on about an inch and a quarter maybe spacer off that A-Pillar, because it is just a plastic trim that goes over this thing. And so anyways, after looking at it, I realized you could actually change this out without destroying your piece of trim pretty easy. And what you would have had to do is, so they yanked the spotlight off the front of this, and then they, obviously in order to do that, they pulled the handle on the inside here, so it's just the shaft sticking out right there, if you can see it with the radar right there. So they pulled the handle and slid out the spotlight, but all they would have had to do is take this set screw right here loose, and then this entire shaft, you could tap this. You pull the handle on the inside, but then tap this thing, and this whole assembly would slide out where you had just the mount left sitting here. With mount just sitting there, you yank the three screws that are holding it down to your A-Pillar, pull those out, but then it's still stuck good and solid. And the reason is it's sitting on a piece of like a 3M, some sort of double stick tape that bonds it down to that A-Pillar. I'm guessing it's for a seal, probably, is most of it. But you just take and you bump that around a little bit, and you could have popped that right off that 3M on the bottom with the shaft out of here. The whole thing would have slipped right up out of there. And then pull your trim off. Yes, you'd break your clips, and I guess it does have a double stick tape right here. You'd have to re-stick that, but you could slip that, cut that double stick tape however you want to do that, and that trim would have lifted right out of there, and you could have saved the piece of trim. So now what you end up doing is you got a new piece of trim, no template, the clip's already on the A-Pillar there. And so what you gotta do is you gotta yank that mount out anyways, put the piece of trim on, re-drill it from the inside, and that's how I did it on the other one. Is you just run you gotta have a 12-inch drill bit, run that in from the inside after that shaft is out of there. You gotta take this all out. After that's out of there, you snap your trim on, and then you re-drill it anyways back out through here. So you could have saved us a lot of frustration and headaches, I think, with a little proper planning prior to doing it. But anyways, drilled it out through the trim, and then I've got a hole in my plastic, but it didn't tell me where I needed to cut the rest of this. And so what I ended up doing was just measuring from the center of the hole kind of down to the bottom where this mount is, was about an inch and a quarter. And so then I just laid the rubber gasket that's going to go underneath of this thing back on here and tried to get a good idea on where it would lay. And then I marked it and cut a part of a hole underneath of it. And then once that was out, you could start seeing where the screw holes were, and then get it oriented so that you could tell where that thing was actually going to set based on the screw holes down there. Mark it again, cut a little more, check it, mark it again, cut it the rest of the way, and then I was able to drop that down in through that piece of plastic. And it actually, it took a while, but after a little finessing and a little trimming, it was able to get cut. It was for the most part, it was perfect. And then that little rubber trim that goes underneath of this covered anything that you would be seeing anyways, and took care of getting that in there. But anyways, don't snap your piece of plastic on here, your trim piece on here, until you're completely ready. Clean this up, get that ready to stick down. Don't put it on until you're ready, because they do not come back off. You put it on, and this little plastic clip right here, it snaps off when you go to pull it off. It doesn't have the ability to come up off from that without breaking it. So unless you want to go buy a bunch of plastic clips, make sure you got everything ready, clip it on. Otherwise, be nice if the guys that did the glass job would just do it right in the first place and tear this apart correctly. So anyhow, that would be what I found on it, and with a little work you can get it to go back together, and it turned out nice. So anyways, Henry Heck Built.